That was the physiological sigh. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's how to reduce stress right now with science-backed techniques. So let you guys start coming on. Hi, everybody. Hello. Happy Saturday. Okay, you guys, this is part of my series on stress reduction. I don't want you to tune out. Nobody likes to talk about stress. But if I tell you that if you can manage your stress, you're going to live longer and weigh less and have younger looking skin, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's entertain this thought for a second. So we're going to talk about how to reduce stress right now. And these are science-based techniques. So this is not a woo-woo thing where we're just going to be making shit up. This is based in science. Okay, happy Saturday. Okay, so before we get into the how, I want you to understand the why. Okay, so part of what I do in these teaching Saturdays is that when we're going to talk about something that has to do with our longevity and healthy aging, if we can understand the how and the why, we're way more likely to implement the lifestyle hacks. Hi, Germany. Hello. Happy Saturday. We're talking about stress, and this is important, you guys. If I had to pick, just like if you asked me if I had to pick an at-home skincare device and you can only pick one, pick a red light therapy device. If I could pick one topic that will extend your life and make all of your bodily functions working to their best ability, it's managing stress. This is such an important topic and nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, in the receiving ears, in the science field, it's a big thing because it is literally related to every health concern that we have and all kinds of chronic age-related diseases. So if we can manage that, we can improve our longevity, we can look better, our metabolic health is better. There's a lot that is at stake here. So how do you do your eyeliner so perfectly each time? I have an eyeliner tattoo and then I just go over it with this little pencil. But again, we're going to talk about stress right now. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a full microneedling on my face, you guys, with the Dr. Pen M8. I'm in about 6 weeks. It's been about 6 weeks since my last one. I'm going to do face, neck, and chest tomorrow, live at 11 a.m. And then we're going to talk about the good kind of stress, because not all stress is bad for you. There's good kind of stress that tricks your body into behaving like it did when it was younger. One of those ways is through microneedling. Another way is through deliberate cold exposure, like cold plunges. So not all stress is terrible. Sometimes it's actually good for us. But when we're talking about chronic stress, this is the kind of stress that will take years off of your life, will make you feel like shit and look like shit. Sorry, but that is the truth. It affects everything. And so just like I said earlier, if I had to pick one at-home skincare device and you could only have one, it would be red light therapy. If I can talk about one subject that will save your life and make you live much longer, it's managing stress, okay? So here we go. Let's see. Okay, hi everybody. Okay, so the why. So stress is linked to inflammation in your body. And if you guys have listened to anything I've said before, you know that inflammation in the body is the root cause of all age-related diseases, everything from cardiovascular disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, it's arthritis, diverticulitis. Inflammation, you're always so directly honest. Inflammation in the body is really the root cause of so many different diseases, okay? So stress is often also, if we're stressed out, and it can be perceived mental stress, or it can just be stress in the body. Lack of sleep causes stress in the body. We might not be aware of it. It might be perceived as just being tired, but it's taxing on the body. And so when we're stressed, and I use that in that both the psychological way and the physiological way of stressing our bodies, it causes some really poor lifestyle choices, okay? So we want to make sure that we understand what is acute stress and what is chronic stress, which one is good for our body in that recovery, and which one is really going to take some years off of our life and make us look pretty bad. There's that I used to be a drinker, you guys. I used to love my cocktails. I did. I loved them. I was still a health coach. I still was exercising like a fiend, but I loved my cocktails. And that was one of the ways that I would handle my stress, right? At the end of the day, I'd just have a glass of wine while I'm cooking a healthy meal. And then that glass of wine would turn into 1 or 3. And that was a part of my life. And that's kind of how I handled stress. That is not the way to handle stress. That is masking something and taking years off of my life. So when I finally gave up that crutch and really started looking at stress as a whole and how does that affect every system of your body, from your waistline, your metabolic health, to your brain health with Alzheimer's and dementia, to your skin, it really affects everything. So we're going to talk about that. Stress can even cause hair loss. If you guys have seen my live shows on hair loss, you know that stress puts your hair into a resting state and then you shed. You will stress shed. I am a stress shedder, which means that in times when I'm stress shedding, I might think that I'm handling my stress well, but I'm not, because my body is telling me different. We have to listen to our bodies. So if you are unable to sleep, if you're having trouble sleeping, if you're stress shedding, if you're feeling your heartbeat racing, if you're having high blood pressure, all of these are signs that you've got chronic stress. Okay, let's see. When we refer to stress, we're usually referring to the emotional part of it, right? Like, I feel so stressed. That's the emotional part, but it is physically in our body. Our mind and our body is so intertwined. It's crazy. It's like insane and fascinating. Honestly, so fascinating. So stressors can be both physical and psychological. So let's first talk about like, what is stress, okay? Not all stress is bad. Like I said, we're going to talk about good stress tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be those ways to trick our body into behaving like it did when it was younger, right? Through cold exposure, through skincare, through all of that kind of stuff, through microneedling, creating little micro traumas, through fasting. This is all good stress that kickstarts our body into really, kind of addressing those systems that make our bodies appear and look and function and feel like they did when they were younger. But when it comes to stress that is like, that low level chronic stress, that's where you're going to take years off of your life. So let's just get through this. We are hardwired to deal with stress. The reason why we're alive after 200,000 years of being humans is because we have this amazing stress response. It actually helps us, right? That's why we got to run from the saber-toothed tiger. We weren't caught. Like, we're on high alert, and we need that to keep our bodies safe. And this is all because of the autonomic nervous system. And this is the nervous system where we don't have to think about it. It just does its thing. If we perceive a stress, all of these whole body systems start happening. Our pupils dilate. Our heart races, our lungs, we take more inhales, right? Because we need more oxygen to go to our muscles so that we can fight or flight. It's this whole amazing system that when it's done right, works to keep us alive and benefits us. But it's in the recovery process in that parasympathetic nervous system that we can actually try to get back down to that homeostasis set point. I'm going to explain this because it's really, really fascinating. So I know you guys just want the tools. Give me the tools. How do I de-stress right now? I'm going to give you just the first one, and then we're going to go on with the lecture because I can feel myself, right? The adrenaline going and wanting to teach you guys this information so badly. We're going to do what we call the physiological sigh, or what is called the physiological sigh. It is the quickest way to de-stress in real time, because it is that system of our body, that stress response system, that we can actually control by controlling our diaphragm. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but we're going to do this first. It's 2 inhales. So it's a long inhale, not a long inhale, but an inhale through the nose, followed by another little inhale, and a longer exhale. We're going to do this one time, and then I'm going to go on with my lecture. So inhale through the nose, little inhale, like fill it up all the way, and then longer, slower exhale. That, my friends, is called the physiological sigh. And if there's one thing that you can do to reduce your stress, it's that practice of breath work. Because breath work, and I want to do a whole live show on breath work and have an expert come in. A lot of people don't know this, but I am a 500-hour yoga instructor. So I have had a lot of training in breath work. I know, I wear a lot. I wear too many hats. It's crazy. This is why I have to reduce my stress, you guys. Have a little mushroom coffee. Make my exhales longer than my inhales. And I'm going to show you how and teach you how those systems work and why a longer exhale works to decrease your stress response. It kickstarts that parasympathetic nervous system to come to the rescue and really kind of relax your cortisol levels, decrease your cortisol levels, decrease your breathing, decrease your heart rate. And it's in real time. A lot of science behind that physiological sigh. Okay. The great news about the one good thing about the fact that we've got this system is that we can, if we understand the system, we can act directly on the mechanisms of that system to decrease our stress. And you guys, I'm not only talking about when we feel it, right? We lived in a over plugged in, hyper caffeinated, super stressed out, sleep deprived world. That's what we are living in right now. We're more socially disconnected than ever before. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in our world that causes stress that wasn't around 10,000 years ago, right? There was different stress back then. But there's a lot of stress that we have in our lives that we wouldn't necessarily perceive as stress. And this is the chronic stress that can kill you. Okay, so let's see. I want to talk about the acute stress response and then the chronic stress. So when we think about stress, we're only really kind of thinking about that perceived stress. That's the psychological part of it, right? But it is in our body. Whether we are running a marathon, which is stressful on our body, or we're sitting in a cold plunge, which is stressful on our body, or we're being chased by a mountain lion, which I do fear living in the canyons now, I must say. Our dog is being currently stalked by a coyote. So that's kind of stressful. But it's these kind of things that we feel like, okay, whew, I just kind of got rid of that. But did we? Or did we just kind of increase that set point for homeostasis? And I'm gonna talk about that in a second. So acute stress, we're talking about two different things. Acute stress is a one-time event, right? That's I'm being chased by the tiger. That's the one-time event. The stressor, whether it's physical, I'm physically being chased by a tiger, or I'm in a cold plunge, or it's emotional, I just broke up with my boyfriend or whatever. It sets off this chain of reactions in your body that really affects every single organ that we have. And it's not biased. It doesn't care. If it's stress that, we're running a marathon, we think that we're doing something good for our body, or we're running from a tiger, the stress response in the body is the same, which is fascinating, right? Don't you guys find that fascinating? Our body doesn't decipher between that active wanting to run a marathon or running for dear life from a tiger. The system is still the same. So acute stress is that one-time stress that we hope we get back to that set level, right? And that acute stress has kept us alive for 200,000 years. That is such an amazing system that we have. Chronic stress, this is the one that kills, okay? This is when we think we've dealt with our stress and our bodily functions. We think that they've returned to normal, but it raises that resting set point to where we have a new normal, a higher level of normal in which we feel we can deal with our stress. It's not back down here like it was before. Now we've added these things. We think we've come back around. We think we've pushed it all down. And it's just this low level chronic stress that causes inflammation in the body. Hey, Jean, I just saw Gina come in. It causes inflammation in the body that leads to all types of age-related diseases, chronic diseases, cancers, all different kinds of stuff. And that you reverse aging, all your body except the neck, it always shows your aging very. Yeah, your neck shows your aging. That's a really good question or comment, because there are things in our bodies that show our aging the most. Our skin, for example, we can be decreasing our longevity on the inside, and it's showing in our skin because it is our outward facing organ. It is that organ which we show to the world, which we can actually see. I can tell a difference. I just moved into this house. I still have boxes in various parts of the room. I'm going to tell you, I can tell a difference in my skin from the stress that I've been under this last, I want to say 2 months. 2 months of moving, like a month of getting shit together over there. And now we're like, I think we're on our 3rd week of sleeping in this house. We're still not unpacked. You know, I've accumulated a lot of stuff in 55 years on this planet. But I can tell a difference in my skin. If I can tell a difference in my skin, you guys, and this is why people come to me for, I get people in with the skincare, and then I help them live longer. But I get a lot of people that I coach one-on-one with skin. Your skin is just the sign of what's going on inside your body, right? So when we're stressed and we're not sleeping and we're making poor food choices or we're drinking alcohol, we're trying to cope with the stress, it might show up in our skin, but this is in a cellular level in our body, you guys. So if you think that stress is something to just like joke around with, or, you know, you wear it as a badge of honor, you're going to be wearing it as a badge of honor for for a lot fewer years than somebody who actually addresses their stress and has a practice in place. And that's what we're going to talk about, because this is real life solutions. Let's talk about the chronic stress. This is one that kills. And so this will increase anxiety. So if you have chronic stress, you're so sweet. My Milky Way one, thank you so much for that. But I can tell the difference. I can tell if I got up and clicked, like I'm a little peely, I'm like, I can tell the difference. But thank you for that. So what chronic stress does is it increases anxiety, increases depression, causes digestive problems, diverticulitis, Crohn's. All of this stuff is related to inflammation in our bodies. Even things like arthritis. Your arthritis will get better if you can handle your stress. How crazy is that? But those are the facts. That's how it works. Inflammation causes your arthritis to act up. Inflammation is caused by cortisol levels that act up. So it's all interrelated. So digestive problems, headaches, disruptions in sleep, weight gain, de-stress, and you will weigh less. De-stress and you will weigh less. I'm telling you, it's all connected. Systemic inflammation, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, memory loss, Alzheimer's disease, strokes, type 2 diabetes, cancer, accelerated aging of your skin, and all bodily organs related to stress. It's related to stress. Okay, so the how. If we can understand the why and the how, then the stress protocol is going to make much more sense. And when you learn the why and the how, you're going to be more likely to implement the lifestyle hacks to get you to the point where you can live longer and better and healthier. You're going to look better too. You're going to look younger too. That's not the main point. All of our systems, we want all of our systems working as best we can as they did when we were in our youth, right? Everything declines with age. So as everything's declining with age, our stress levels are going up. Fuck, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Okay, so the stress response. We're going to talk about the sympathetic nervous system, you guys, and it's 11:24. I'm going to try to get through this. Sympathetic nervous system, that's our fight or flight system. And when you're presented with a stressor, this can be physical or emotional. Your body does not distinguish the difference. You perceive the stressor with your eyes, like I saw a coyote stalking our dog, so you can perceive it with your eyes. You can hear it. This is important. This part is important. When we perceive a stressor, let's think about this. We can see it with our eyes. We can hear it like the lawn blowers, right? We can ruminate about it and think about it like, God, my kids aren't great right now. You know, something's wrong with one of my kids, or my kid's sick, or I'm sick. We can think about it so it can be just a ruminating thought. It can be a physical stressor, like your body is ill. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about that in a little bit. Like your body is ill, or you're doing a cold plunge. It can be physical, but however you're perceiving it, it's important, because if you understand that stress can come from very different avenues, we can work on those avenues to reduce it, right? Okay, so regardless of the type of stressor, of how that information reaches your brain, a chain of reaction takes place. So in the middle of our body, from our neck to about our belly, that's the core. Let's say this is the core of our body, from here to here, right? From our neck to our belly. From our neck to our belly. That is basically our core. There's a group of neurons called the chain ganglia that set off this stress response. Okay? The neurons, I don't think we need to know all of this. Acetylcholine, it basically acts on all the various organs, such as the heart. So a heart is involved. Think about this. What is involved in the stress process is important. It's important. Why? Because if we know what's involved in the stress process, we know how to counteract that. It's going to make sense. When I go back over that physiological sigh, it's going to make more sense why it works if you understand that the lungs and the heart rate is involved in the stress response. Okay, so this stimulates, so the heart, the lungs, the muscles, the digestion system, all of it's involved. It stimulates the release of adrenaline, epinephrine, but it's adrenaline. So it stimulates the release of adrenaline, which releases cortisol. I know you guys have heard about cortisol, because when you go get a blood test, they usually check your cortisol levels. There's a reason why they do this. This is your stress hormone. I'm going to repeat that. The cortisol levels are our indication through the blood that this is our stress hormone, and it gives you an indication of what your chronic stress levels are. That's why we get that done. That's why we test our cortisol levels, right? Okay, so what does it do? In the muscles, when adrenaline hits the muscles, what does it do? It makes us want to move, right? It makes us want to move. That's why we're used to adrenaline hits us and we want to run from that tiger. Adrenaline can hit us too, and it still makes us want to move. Have you ever been stressed to the point where you're kind of vibrating? You know what I'm talking about? You guys know what I'm talking about? Comment yes if you know what this feels like. If you're vibrating, you're so stressed, you're in your head, you're so stressed, you're thinking about something, and your skin, your body, your muscles are twitching, they're vibrating. This is part of the stress. Yes, Fear Shelley. Yes, Skippo 11. Yes, yes, yes. That vibration of stress. Yes, it happens. That vibration, for craft's sake. Yes, yep. That vibration is your stress response from 200,000 years ago when we were supposed to be running from a tiger. It makes your muscles want to move. And when your muscles aren't moving, like when you're in a gym, because you can work your stress out. When your muscles aren't moving, you vibrate. You have this frequency of vibration because our bodies are made to move in times of stress, okay? So it makes our muscles want to move. In your heart, it causes your heart to beat faster, right? Because why? We need all that blood circulation to be able to run from that tiger. So our heart beats faster. Why is this important? If we know our heart beat faster and we know our muscles want to twitch, we can combat that. I'm going to get to those. But understanding the mechanisms that happen is very important. When I feel that, I physically move my body. So do I. It took me a long time. To learn that. And a lot of people, I'm going to just get up for a second. I'm dressed to go to the gym because I'm going to the gym right after this. But a lot of people, when they get stressed, like you'll see people on the phone and they're like pacing back and forth. right? They're doing this whole thing and they're just pacing. It's because in times of stress, our body wants to move. It wants to move. And when if your nerves are shot and you are in overload, you're in an acute stress overload, your body can just physically, you're about to have a panic attack, your body can physically vibrate. So your lungs take in more oxygen. Why does our lungs take in more oxygen? Our inhales increase, right? Our inhales increase because we need that extra oxygen to go to our muscles to be able to bolt or to fight. That's the fight or flight. That's part of something that happens that it's just natural. It happens in every single human being. That's part of why we're alive. It's really important. So our pupils dilate, right? Because we want to be able to take in, I just lifted myself in the wrong. That's kind of freaky. But we want to take in all of our environment so that we can protect ourselves. Our heart rate increases, our lungs increase. This is important. We get agitated. We want to move. All of this is super important. You know what else happens when we want to move? We also say stuff, right? We say stuff. Have you ever been so stressed you said something, you're like, and you say something, you're like, oh, I wish I could just take those words and like put them back in. All right, have you guys done that before? Because we want to move. And sometimes that comes out in an audible burst of being short-tempered with somebody, road rage, right? This is stress and you can't move and it comes out verbally. That's part of movement. Does that make sense, you guys? And usually in times of stress, I always say, if I'm super stressed, I just need to be quiet for a little bit. Because I want to make sure. So when you're arguing with a spouse or you're heated about something, that's the time when you're going to say something. Stress vomiting. Yes, you know why? And we're going to get to that because the digestion slows down. So there's things that get hyper vigilant and increase, and there's things that shut down because we don't need them. Your body does not need to be digesting food if you're supposed to be running from a tiger. So our bodies are made. That's why people, sometimes people before they do public speaking, they get those butterflies in their stomach and they want to vomit. It's a very physical thing because in times of stress, our digestion shuts down. The quickest way, if we've got a full stomach, to shut down our digestion and slow that is just to vomit it out. Some people have diarrhea as well, right? So our digestion stops. Our reproduction slows down. So men will, yes, it makes so much sense. Yes. Okay, I got one person. It's like, oh, the light bulbs are going off. Yes, okay. Your digestion slows down. So that's why people get sick to their stomach. Rock stars will throw up before they go on stage. They need everything to be, I'm so happy you're here too, KT Drew. You need everything to be out of that stomach because your body has to use that energy for other things. It doesn't want to use the energy for what's immediately in your stomach to digest, right? Also, a lot of women will, in times of high stress, you'll ovulate because your body does not want to get pregnant. It's like, I'm not going to get pregnant right now. I'm going to spit out one of those eggs and ovulate and just be done with it because I am not in a position to carry a child right now. So men's semen, their sperm is reduced in times of high stress. Women will ovulate or not have a period sometimes in times of high stress. And that has to do with our body needs our other organs, the energy to our other organs to be able to cope with everything. So it opens up your blood vessels, right? They dilate so that blood can get to those organs in that fight or flight response. I talked about the reproduction shutting down, blah, 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 digestion slows down. So it's amazing. It's like this chemical cascade of stuff that happens. And so cortisol continues to be released. So here's the thing. If you're in the middle of a stressful situation, we have this cascade of stuff that happens, right? Adrenaline gets released, goes to the organs, and then makes all the organs do what they're going to do, whether they're shutting down or whether we need them for this stress response that we have. Cortisol then is released as well, and that's our stress hormone. Like I said earlier, that's why people test the cortisol levels in your saliva or in your blood, because it's an indication of how much adrenaline, how much stress response do you have in your body, is through those cortisol kind of tests. And what's important about this is that if you have not dealt with that stress, the cortisol keeps getting released and that stressors keep happening. The physiological part of of that response keeps happening, so you can have stomach issues that are long term because you haven't dealt with the stress that you should be dealing with, right? So this is part of it. The cortisol level keeps going up. It circles back around in this positive feedback loop of, yeah, I'm stressed, I still need you. Okay, well, let's release adrenaline, let's shut down the digestion, let's mess with the reproduction system, let's increase the breathing and the heart rate and the blood pressure and the blood to the muscles, because we need all of that. The cortisol levels will then just continue to do that. And when you do that, you have created this higher level of set point. Our bodies, the parasympathetic nervous system, is the rest and digest. So we just talked about the fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system. You guys, I cannot stress how important this is. So if you are just tuning in, please, please, please do not tune out. Just let me get through this part of it, because what I'm teaching right now, if I had to teach one health thing to focus on that's going to make you live longer on this planet and better and with a less chance of age-related diseases and chronic diseases, it's controlling and managing your stress response. I'm not joking around here. I know I'm super passionate about it because it's that important. This is stuff that I just recently learned at USC. This is not like me, learning off of other health coaches. I'm one of those health coaches that I'm continually in school. Continually. I just graduated with a second master's at 50. Well, I think it was 54 when I did that. But yeah, so continually, this stuff is so important and will affect everything. So we've just talked about the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, what happens when we're in times of stress. The parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest. So we want to rest, and then our digestion can start up again. It's called rest and digest. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. And we're not even aware that this is happening to us, right? It's a complex, again, chemical reactions, neurological impulses, adrenaline and cortisol levels begin to drop. I've done so much research, but has thank you so much. That was the best compliment ever, I'm telling you. I've done so much research, but no one has explained it so simply. Thank you. That's my jam. That's what I like to do. Yay. Okay, so it's working. So in the parasympathetic nervous system, that's where we want to calm everything down. We have these cranial nerves. It's a different bunch of nerves, okay? And they're in the back of the neck and the brain stem, and some in the pelvic area as well. And they control the genitals, the bladder, the anus, all those things that we tense up. They control all of that, and it helps bring the other organs and everything back to that homeostasis. This is important. Homeostasis is when all of those systems are back at their resting state. The stressor is gone, or we think, and our systems have returned to normal. So it's the optimal functioning of the body. It's the state when our body systems and organs are optimally functioning. It's the normal resting state. The key here is normal resting state. This is the key here. Because what does that mean, normal resting state? Is my normal resting state the same as yours? No, it's not. And it's not the same as your friends, and it's not the same as anybody else's. It's unique to your body, right? But that normal resting state, how low can we get that? It's not up here. If we're walking around and our ears are buzzing and we're in our head and we can feel our body buzzing, and we're like that for a prolonged period of time, you have just really messed up your normal resting state. You've let that set point rise. That, my friends, is chronic stress. That's the stuff that kills you. That's the stuff that causes you to, listen, in times of stress, this is interesting. And this is why I always say de-stress and you'll weigh less. In times of stress, your liver releases glucose. Bet you didn't know your liver can make glucose. Your liver releases glucose in times of stress. So will it mess up your metabolic health and cause you to gain weight if you're not managing and reducing that set point? Yes, it will. If you've gained weight, listen, there's a lot of things that cause weight gain. Hormonal imbalances, a lot of different things cause weight gain, but stress causes weight gain. Stress causes weight gain. You guys, I wrote a blog 5 years ago on liveyounglifestyle.com, my website, called De-Stress and You Will Weigh Less. For this reason, stress, chronic stress in your body. Not only do you make shitty lifestyle choices when you're chronically stressed, including sleep deprivation, that's a chronic stress. If you're chronically sleep deprived, you're chronically stressed. Your body's not supposed to be chronically sleep deprived. That's stress on your body. Just like you're not supposed to go in a cold plunge pool for 5 minutes every single day or a couple times a day. Our bodies aren't meant for that, right? We need to recharge. We need like those little amounts of acute stress and then back down to set point, homeostasis, right? It's when we don't get all the way back down that this set point rises and rises and rises. And then inflammation happens, and inflammation is the root cause of all age-related diseases or all diseases. It's in the root of that, right? Anything that has an itis, arthritis, diverticulitis, all of those itises is inflammation. Inflammation is also in cardiovascular disease. It's also in Alzheimer's. It's in everything. Inflammation. And that is made worse and stimulated by this stress response. Okay. Just went off on a tangent. There we go. Okay, so this feedback loop of chemical reactions is the subsequent effect of bodily systems, and it's still on alert. So it's revealed in cortisol levels, in your saliva, and all different kinds of stuff. So when you raise that homeostatic set point, that's chronic stress. I'm going to repeat that. What's in my head? It's a bun. I'm about to go to the gym, and when I'm working out, I don't want anything. I just want to concentrate on what I'm focusing on. But when you raise that, now I'm really going to repeat that. When you raise that homeostatic set point, that is chronic stress. If you feel a little bit more overwhelmed than you did last year, you've raised that homeostatic set point. Does this make sense? And so listen, I want to talk about one thing really quickly because it's going to make me cry. And I don't want to go too much on it. I want to do a whole live on breast cancer. But I think as women, and most of you on here are women, not that I have anything against men. I love men. But because I'm a 55-year-old woman, a lot of my followers are women who want to learn how to live longer, look better while you're doing it, but live longer and happier and healthier and better, right? It doesn't make any sense to live a long time if you're chronically ill and everything is breaking down. You're just extending your lifespan, but you want to extend your health span just as long as your lifespan so that you're healthy right up until the end, right? Not this slow decline of arthritis and osteoporosis and cardiovascular health and strokes and dementia and all of that. You don't want to extend your life just to extend your life. You want to get the most of it that you can. But I do have a dear, dear friend of mine who just told me yesterday that she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I don't want to go too much into that because I do feel like I think that deserves a topic of its own. But childhood friend. And I was just on the phone with her last night. And so we as women, and like I said, most of you are women here. No offense to men, but most of you are women. we as women, we tend to carry this stress if our family is not okay, if our spouse is having trouble. What are we cooking for dinner? Do we have groceries in the house? Are the bills paid? My child's not okay. Ailing parents. This is where we tend to, as women, get stressed about. And what we don't realize until we are the person is that when we break down, when we have breast cancer, when we have chronic illness, the stress involved in that is beyond. Imagine. Because it's a sense of mortality, right? So it makes sense that as we age, that stress level, have you ever had an ailing parent and the doctor has suggested putting them on an anti-anxiety medication? Is because the stress level of our mortality, of coming to grips with, we're not going to be here forever. We don't think about that. When I think about myself, I think about myself as the 30-year-old version, not the 55-year-old version, because 55 is like, whoa, that's kind of close. I'm more than halfway to 100. So we don't think about that. We're not faced with our mortality a lot, but I've got clients who've had a double mastectomy. I've had my really good childhood friend just talk to me about just finding out she had breast cancer. So as we age, the stress of our own mortality and what's physically going wrong with our bodies also comes into play. And so we're so used to, as women, taking care of everybody else that it's surreal when thanks for craft's sake, when things start going wrong with our own bodies. It's surreal, right? Which doesn't seem like it's based in reality. And so stress reduction, I'm telling you, if you are somebody who is dealing with questions of your mortality, you're dealing with an illness that is going to be hard to go through, to treat, to get better. It's stress relief is more important than ever, because does it improve your chances of wound healing and survival? 1,000% it does. Well, 1,000% isn't a real number, but you know what I mean? It is more important than ever. And so when we're talking about our chronic stress levels, even though you don't feel them, you might think, I got myself handled. I'm pretty good. Those chronic levels, that increase of that set point, it's so important to have an ongoing stress reduction practice. An ongoing stress reduction, whether you feel it or not, I'm telling you, it's in your body. Whether you feel it or not, it's in your body. If you go to the doctor and they say, oh, your cortisol levels are a little bit high, you have messed up that set point. Okay? If you have inflammation in your body, I'm telling you, you're dealing with stress. Your hands hurt, you've got arthritis, even if it runs in your family. Arthritis runs in my family too. But I can tell if I'm doing things right for my body and I'm addressing that inflammation, which stress causes inflammation. Okay, so let's talk about the tools. And I've got 10 minutes when I talk about the tools. I want to do that one more time. If we know that these tools, so here's the thing. These are tools that are backed by science that reduce our cortisol levels. Whether you feel it or not, it's in your body. It's so true. These are backed by science that reduce our cortisol levels, okay? I'm going to go through these quickly because I'm going to be on here again tomorrow and we're going to talk about the same thing as I'm microneedling my face, because we're going to talk about good stress and bad stress. If we know how it works on our organs, if we know that when we're in that fight or flight mode and whether we're running from a tiger or whether it's just we're stuck in traffic, it's still the same physiological stuff that happens inside. So let's say we're stuck in traffic then, since not a lot of us run from tigers. And we can feel that stress in us. If we know that our sympathetic nervous system is working on its own here and it's doing what it needs to do, we know that our heart rate has increased, and we know that our breathing has increased, right? We know our blood pressure has gone up. We know our pupils are dilated so we can take in the surroundings. We know we're twitchy. We know we want to move. We want to move or we want to say something. This is what happens as part of that stress response. So now we can work on those avenues, right? And the quickest way to do that, I hope that this connects the dots. The quickest way to do that is through your diaphragm, because you can actually, even though we breathe without thinking about it, we can also think about breathing and breathe. So we can affect that feedback loop. Okay, so I'm going to do this one more time. We're going to talk about this physiological sigh. We're going to do it one more time, and then I'm just go through the other stuff. And the reason is because it is the number one thing, the number one way to reduce stress right now, because it works on that pathway of decreasing your breath, which then decreases your heart rate. If we can decrease the breath and we can decrease the heart rate, the parasympathetic nervous system can do the rest and get you to that relaxed state. It takes 30 seconds afterwards. 30 seconds. You might have to repeat it 2 or 3 times. If you have panic disorder, which I have a client that has panic disorder, and they have to repeat it maybe 10 times, but it does work. It takes about 30 seconds. It's called the physiological sigh. And so I'm going to explain it real quick and then we'll do it. When you inhale and your diaphragm moves down, so it's in this movement of the diaphragm from taking in breath and exhaling breath, your movement of the diaphragm happens, right? So when we are taking in breath, our diaphragm moves down. This gives our lungs space to take in that breath. It gives our heart space to grow. When we inhale, our heart grows a little bit. Listen to this logic for a second. An elephant's heart beats much slower than a mouse because there's less blood to get around that little system, right? A bigger heart has more blood that needs to move through it. So when we breathe in and we're increasing that heart, we're increasing the lungs, our diaphragm's going down, we're increasing the lung, we're increasing the heart, the blood starts moving slightly, ever so slightly slower through the heart. That signal goes to the brain and tells the brain, your heart is slowing down, let's speed that thing up. So inhaling speeds your heart up. Does that make sense to you guys? Tell me yes if it makes sense to you, because I want to make sure you get this. Inhaling, if you inhale and you hold your breath, you're speeding your heart up. When you exhale, you deflate those lungs, the diaphragm moves up, your heart gets smaller. Think mouse heart, elephant heart. Your heart gets smaller, your heart rate is a little faster, and it signals your brain to slow your heart down. So by concentrating on an exhale, you've gotten one of the major physiological signs of stress reduction conquered by concentrating on the exhale. The reason why the physiological sigh works, because it's a double inhale. It's an inhale, just like you fill your lungs, and then you get a little bit more in there, followed by a longer, slower exhale. There's 2 reasons why it has to do with the carbon dioxide, but also psychologically, that little inhale, it plays a trick in your brain where I got a little bit of air in, and now look at how much in comparison this long, extended exhale is. In that long, extended exhale, your brain is telling your heart to slow down. Your brain is telling your heart, slow down your breathing. then all of those feedback loops that we talked about before with the cortisol levels and the adrenaline are affected, and you can push yourself right into a parasympathetic nervous system that gets everything down. Right? It makes sense, right? This is the quickest way. This is the one that is the most backed by science, and it's because we can control our diaphragm. The body is amazing. It's so fascinating. When we understand it, and we understand those mechanisms that the heart rate increases, and then the inhale increases with stress response because we need oxygen to all of these parts for fight or flight. If we can do an exhale focused breathing, like a physiological sigh, and we're focusing on the exhale, making sure that the exhale is longer than the inhale. This is the key. If your exhale is longer than your inhale, you're going to be reducing your stress. You're going to be reducing your heart rate. I'm going to repeat that. If your exhale is longer than your inhale, you're going to be reducing that stress response. Does that make sense? So in a physiological sigh, we're going to do it right now. If you want to do it with me, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to do it twice. Let's do it twice. We're going to do it twice. So you're going to inhale twice. You're going to first, just wait a second. You're going to inhale to your capacity, followed by a little bit of exhale. Think about just filling up that really top part of your lung. And then you're going to exhale long and slow, longer than that inhale. Okay? Let's do it now. Okay, so inhale through your nose. Little inhale. Long, slow exhale. I'm going to do it one more time. Inhale through your nose. Little inhale. Fill it up. Long, slow exhale. That is the quickest, most science-backed way to reduce that stress response in real time. There's other ways. There's meditation. There's a lot of other breath work. But that way, that physiological sigh is the number one thing that you can do in the moment to reduce your stress response. A lot of times we get in bed and we have that, that sigh. Our bodies normally does that when we want to go to sleep. We have that sigh, right? You can create that because we have control over our diaphragm. We can't directly control our blood pressure. We can't directly control the release of glucose by our liver during times of stress. We can't directly control, that our digestion stopping, but we can directly control our breath. When you can control that one organ, the diaphragm, and you can control your breath, you can work on that pathway of stress reduction. Okay, so does that make sense? It's that those little connections, it's how our body talks to our brain. If we're inhaling and our inhales are longer than our exhale, our body is telling our brain that we are in a stress response. Our heart rate is increasing. Increase the heart rate. Increase the breathing. Increase that. When we are exhaling, we're deflating those lungs. We're moving the diaphragm back up. We're shrinking the heart. It's got a lot less room in there because the diaphragm's up here. It's got less room. Think about a mouse heart. So it's telling the brain, hey, our heart is beating a little fast right now. Mouse heart. Think about it, right? On the exhale. We need to slow down the heart rate. It is a direct line. It's a direct line, and it's one of the only direct lines. I'm almost out of time here, but let me see what else I can get through, because let's just get through the breathing stuff, and I'll pick this up tomorrow with the other stuff, because there's so many other things that we can do. Again, that physiological breath, it takes about 20 or 30 seconds is all. 20 or 30 seconds is all. to start decreasing the heart rate and decreasing that breathing. 20 to 30 seconds. You might have to repeat it a couple times, but that's it. There's other breathing techniques like the 4-7-8 breath. That's where you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold for 7 counts, you exhale for 8 counts. There's the box breathing, where it's kind of the same as like in yoga, they call it samvriti, which is like your inhales match your exhales. Now, in times of stress, our inhales are more. So even doing something like a box breath, where you're inhaling, you're focusing on picturing a box, and you're inhaling on this side, and you're exhaling, or you can inhale, you can hold, you can exhale, you can hold. Some people inhale, slowly exhale, inhale, slowly exhale, and you're picturing this box in your mind, so it kind of gets you out of your environment and makes your breath the same amount of inhales and exhales. That's not the quickest way. It feels really good, and it does reduce stress because, again, in times of stress, our inhales are more. But it is a way to decrease stress. So 4-7-8 breathing, the box breathing, numbered breath. I do this a lot in walking meditation. I'll count my steps with my breath. So I'll inhale for 1, 2, 3. Imagine me walking. 4. And then you exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Much like a vinyasa flow, right? Where you're connecting your inhales with movement. That's the same as like a walking meditation. So focusing on the breath and tuning out those external stressors calms the nervous system, but it's focusing on that and extending the exhales that really is where the magic happens with the stress response. And then, of course, exercise. I wonder if I should just like try to go through these. No, it's going to take me too long, but I'll try. Exercise, of course, that need to move part of stress. Get moving. If you are, the Wim Hof techniques, exactly. That's that. I do that when I'm taking a freezing cold. Now I'm taking a freezing cold bath, which is even more intense than the freezing cold shower I was taking. But I'll do that accelerated exhale breath like the Wim Hof technique to get my body to know, like, okay, calm the heart, slow the breath. And after about 30 seconds of that, I'm in a freezing cold tub, just inhaling and exhaling, not like normal. So those kind of forced exhales, and I do this because when I was in the shower, when I would do a shower, I used to do it with my hands, like, but that forced exhalation, that concentration on the exhalation is what decreases the adrenaline, those cortisol levels, and gets you back to a better resting set point. Exercise, if you have that twitch and you need to move, one of the quickest ways too that you can de-stress is to start moving the body, because that's what we want to do anyways, right? So it helps burn up the adrenaline. It reduces cortisol levels. It's like meditation in motion. And it helps our body, because intense exercise is still stress. And we're going to talk about stress and good stress tomorrow as well. But it's still stressful for the body to exercise. It's good for us because once we're done exercising, our body goes back. It really helps us with that heart rate variability and that recovery zone, and to treat our bodies, make our bodies learn, okay, how do we get back to that resting point? And exercise does all of that stuff, right? So it's vasodilation, so it increases blood flow. It gets us moving, as opposed to when our blood pressure goes up with stress. So it constricts the blood vessels when we stress. And so the pressure of the blood is a lot more. When you're exercising, it's a vasodilator. So it increases just that natural blood flow and reduces those cortisol levels. And sleep. I think we can end there with sleep, and I can pick it up with the sleep tomorrow. Unless you guys want me just to keep going, which I'm happy to do, but we've been on here for an hour. You've learned so much in an hour, right? Hasn't there been so much information that you've learned? Just know that restorative sleep is also super important. I'm going to be doing a whole live show on sleep alone And I want to talk about, listen, let me spend 10 more minutes because I think I can get through this. Grounding. I'm going to do a whole thing on sleep alone. Okay, so just know that that's coming at a different time. Sleep, if you're sleep deprived, like I said earlier, you are overstressed, because it doesn't matter if it's psychological stress. It doesn't matter if it's physical stress. The physiological system that happens in our body does not discriminate. It is the same. Whether we're lack of sleep, best hour of the day, fierce Cheryl, you just made my day. That it doesn't discriminate between a lack of sleep and the stress that does, a freezing cold shower, whether you are experiencing illness or somebody in your family is experiencing illness, a death of anybody in your family, ailing parents. Our body system does not discriminate. It still uses the same hormones. It still affects the same organs. So if you're sleep deprived, you've got chronic stress. I'm sorry, you have. One of the best ways that I've found where I handle my stress in my sleep is a grounding mattress. You guys have heard me preach about grounding. I actually did numerous papers on grounding when I was at USC. That's where you're connecting with the earth's energy, right? So our bodies are positively charged. The earth is negatively charged. That's just the way it was made. That's just the charge that the earth has is negative, and the charge that we have is positive. But in times of high stress, we lose an electron. That's called free radicals, folks. That's what that is, right? In times of stress, we can lose electrons, which leave us hyper positively charged. When you step on the earth, or you step on a grounding mattress, or you lay down on a grounding mattress or a grounding pad, anything that's grounded to the earth, rock, dirt, sand, ocean, grass, step your bare feet on it, put your hands in it, sit down on it, whatever you have to do, put a mattress pad on your mattress. It literally works to neutralize those free radicals. And I did a paper at USC, and I'm going to end here because tomorrow we're going to talk about healing sounds. If you can think, I want you to think about this. It's on my Amazon. Somebody just asked, where do you get the grounding mattress from? I'm telling you, it's not that expensive. I want to say you can get them for under like $70. They go on your mattress. It doesn't have to cover the whole mattress, just anywhere from the lower body on. So you can get a full size one. It doesn't have to be a king size. Put it on your mattress pad. It gets plugged into the third port of any outlet. I don't have a plug. Let me see if I can grab a plug or something. Any outlet in your home. Gosh, no, this only has a 2. But you know the outlets that have the third hole? Your grounding mattress gets plugged into that third port that is grounded to the earth. You put a mattress pad on your mattress. You will reduce your cortisol levels as you sleep for 8 hours, hopefully, a day. There's a lot of research on this. And so I did a lot of different papers on this at USC because it's so fascinating to me that we can actually utilize these natural ways that, for centuries, for thousands of years, we've been walking around barefoot. And then we got, rubber was invented, and rubber sold shoes, not sold, but sold the bottom. So we're not coming in contact with the earth. And so we're building up these free radicals and these cortisol levels. And what I found is I did a paper on this where they tested the saliva of massage workers, people that worked in a massage place where they did massages. And they tested their cortisol levels and had them, some of the workers came in, and when they would give their massages, they were walking on grounding mats around their patients as they were working. And they tested their cortisol levels. Another group, they had a grounding mattress where they would sleep for hopefully 8 hours a day on a grounding mattress, and they would test their cortisol levels through saliva, versus those same workers, people that worked in the same company, in the same facility, not having those grounding experiences, and the grounding mattress pads at home, as well as the ones that you can stand on or put on your desk and have your arms on, or your hands on while you're working. Reduce the cortisol level in saliva. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. That's one of like the easiest ways to not even have to think about de-stressing is put a mattress pad on your, watching your Earthing movie on Prime. Fascinating. Yay. Yeah, so it's really amazing. I think I'm going to stop there, you guys. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back at 11 a.m. I'm going to pick this up with talking about healing sounds. So I want you to think about this. If those leaf blowers, holy crap. Honestly, that's why I moved to this other house, because I lived in West Hollywood and all those leaf blowers going nonstop all day long were literally, I could feel the tension in my body. So we moved to more of a canyon. Our neighbors are a little bit further away. We don't hear that all day long. But think about that. If your hearing, if your auditory, the way that you're getting stressed is through your auditory system, can't you change what you're hearing? Yeah. Would it not work on those systems to relax your sympathetic nervous system, have your kickstart that parasympathetic nervous system? There's a lot of research on healing sounds on different frequencies, right? Like the frequency 528 promotes healing and repair at a cellular level. There's a frequency of 285 hertz that is a healing frequency that promotes physical healing, especially in wounds and injuries. There's the 432 hertz, which I love, which promotes that. You hear that a lot in yoga classes. That just, you hear that a lot in chanting, right? That promotes balance and harmony. And it has a direct effect on our stress levels. 528 hertz. Yes. So that's the one that's promoting healing and repair on a cellular level. You can feel a difference when you hear these kind of frequencies. So singing bowls and like gongs and these sound baths can play a direct role on this whole stress response. We're going to pick this back up tomorrow because it's fascinating stuff. And like I said in the beginning, you know, you guys can ask me what skincare device, if you could only pick one, because I probably use a dozen, but if you could only pick one, which one would you do? And I always say red light therapy because it gets to the root of the problem. It's improving your skin on a cellular level. If you could do one lifestyle hack, one thing to focus on, one concern, it's manage your stress. Managing your stress will affect every other system. That's how we're made. Managing your stress will affect your weight. It will affect your longevity. It will affect your health. It will affect your skin. It affects everything. Your lifestyle choices, all of it, your sleep. It affects everything. This is such an important topic. I'm going to be here tomorrow, 11 a.m. We're going to hit it again. And I'm going to do a little bit of good stress to my skin. And I'm going to do a little bit of microneedling. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for sticking with me and getting through this. We're going to pick it up tomorrow. Fascinating stuff. I'm in the middle of doing a stress relieving protocol. Real ways that I can give you a printable version so that you can look at this. Click on this thing and you're going to get a sound bath healing sound. Click on this, you're going to get this breath work stuff. That's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on for you guys, okay? But we're going to pick this up tomorrow. All right. Have a great rest of your Saturday. I'm going to go hit the gym. I hope you are too. Okay. Bye, everybody.